Good frosty Canadian morning, Bigfooters. Out in the woods. Fresh snow this morning. Really cold, probably close to minus 20 degrees Celsius with the wind. Gonna take a walk back through the swamp here. Because of the fresh snow, you'll be able to see any tracks of anything that's moving through. So I thought we'd go for a walk back through the swamp. With the fresh snow, be able to pick up any tracks. I wanted to get the drone up first, which I did this morning. Gotta say, there's a whole host of really scary things that happen when you're flying the drone in winter like this. The temperature, first of all, is not good for electronic equipment. The batteries, I've only got 22 minutes or so per battery to start with, and then in the cold, it's much reduced. So that was one factor. I did go through 3 batteries this morning, flew over the whole entire swamp, the outside edges, checked everything really well. You can see quite a bit better through the forest in the winter. Obviously there's no leaves, so that part was really good. I should say you can see better in the forest, but not until you get the footage back home and look at it on the computer, because I couldn't see a thing on my phone. You kind of get a bit of snow blind out here when everything around you is so white, and then you're trying to look at a screen, you can't see anything on the screen. And when I show you guys the drone footage from this morning, you're gonna see I was actually flying below the tops of the tallest trees. And I couldn't tell that on the, we could have destroyed this. I could not see that. You'll see how close in the opening scene we were to hitting brush up there. You just can't see anything on the screen, so very dangerous. Then there's the fact that it's windy and snowing very lightly up there, so that's not good for electronics. The biggest one is probably the wind. Non-stop wind up here this time of year. So very dangerous to fly the drone in these conditions, but I did it just for you guys. Well, for that and my own peace of mind, I wanted to check the swamp, so we did it. I'm also looking for the best path to put in a snowmobile trail here. We've got, my neighbor's got 90 acres over here that we run a skidoo trail for the kids on in the winter, so we can hike snowshoes, toboggans, snowmobiles, and I want to join my property onto his, so I'm just looking for a route we can do that as well. Some deer tracks here from early this morning. Got a fox track right here. Which the dog is very interested in. Very hard to do camera work with gloves on, so I'm constantly taking my gloves off. And after flying that drone for 45 minutes this morning, I couldn't feel my fingers. It was cold. Hard to get around in deep snow too. So the plan for the next hour is to walk this 90 acres here, and basically that'll take us right along the edge of the swamp back here. So more fox tracks right here. Lots of rabbit in here as well, which leads to having a lynx population right here too. I have yet to get one on trail camera, but I've got pretty much every other fur-bearing critter there is up here I've gotten on the trail camera at some point. Pine marten, fisher, weasel, fox, coyotes. Right now I'm suffering from frozen fingers again. I'm trying to run the camera here without mitts. I just can't do it, so I'm gonna have to rig up a way to hold the camera with my mitt on. I can only get my thumb through the strap with my mitts on, but it's just so cold. I have no option, no choice. So I apologize if the camera's not as steady as it normally is, but hey, minus 20. I'm out here, we're looking. Cold, but beautiful. So I've been living on this property for 5 years, guys. I hike these trails every winter. Snowmobile, snowshoe, pull the kids on sleighs. I've never seen a Bigfoot track yet. Like I say, I honestly think that if they were up here in this area, they would migrate out of here. It's just too harsh, too cold. It's not going to stop me from looking. I told you guys we're going to spend a whole year, every season, spring, summer, fall, and winter. We're going to cover all 4 seasons. So I'm going to look and I'm going to keep an open mind. But I've never seen anything that I couldn't explain in terms of a track in the snow. Very thick in this section of trail. Lots of evergreen. He's huffing and puffing here. What do you got, a rabbit? Well, the dog will be worn out after this hike anyway. Now that it's light out, you guys can kind of see what I contend with when I come back here at night. If I get off the trail, which happens all the time because I'm using the infrared light and I can't see where I'm going, it's bloody thick. It's kind of a nightmare. Very hard to navigate back here without a real light. But the whole purpose of me coming back here at night is so that creatures can't see me. I just use the infrared. But then, you know, you get off trail, if you're following a track or something, or if there's a clearing I want to get to, I know where all the good spots to launch the drone from are, I gotta cut through this stuff to get to those spots. Seeing as it's so cold out, why don't we just take a minute and talk about adaptations of animals that do live here in this area. Because if we're gonna say that Bigfoot is a real creature and that it lives here, it would have to employ some of these winter survival tactics. You know, and a few of them would be hibernation, a heavy coat, storage of food. You wouldn't want to be walking through the forest with 3 feet of snow in the winter. No animals do that. It's just too much energy use. So they will make a trail and they will use the same trail all winter long. If Bigfoot was out here, it would have to do the same thing. I don't care how tall it is, how strong it is. In the video that we just did the other day, Stan and I went out metal detecting and we walked 4 miles through foot-deep snow. We were both drenched in sweat, we were exhausted, and we were done after 3.5 hours. So you could imagine trying to hunt prey in these conditions. It wouldn't happen. You just wouldn't expend that much energy and survive. You would have to migrate south. You'd have to store food. You'd have to have a warm place to go to dry out after all of that trekking through the forest. So if Bigfoot is real, it's going to have to employ some of these tactics. What about camouflage, changing color of fur? I mean, it's a possibility, right? We don't know. We don't know anything, right? So just throw that on the list as well. It could change to a white or gray fur in the winter. Maybe that's why we don't see it. I don't know. So right here we can see, we talk about subnivean creatures, things that live underground, and we can see there's a squirrel comes out here and eats every day. There's the pine nuts that they'll eat in the same spot every day, and obviously he's living under here and coming out and eating right here. So that's another adaptation, is living under the snow where it's warm. 32 degrees Fahrenheit for my American friends, 0 degrees Celsius. That's the temperature maintained with 8 inches of snow. And then we get all these little critters, voles, moles, mice. There goes the dog with my glove. Hey, get over here. You're bad. Bad. For an animal that big, my money is on either hibernation or migration. If I didn't have a nice warm house to go back to at the end of this hike, there's no way. Humans can't even survive up here. You know, moose and deer herd together. That's another adaptation. So they all move together for protection, warmth, breaking trails. It's just much easier in a big herd. And they move south, a little bit south of here. I mean, we do get deer and stuff that are here all winter, but the majority herd together. Fisher track right there. As I said before, I've got a family of fishers that lives behind my house, and they're on the trail camera all the time. There's the first track I've seen. I think we have to be realistic in our search and kind of knowledgeable about winter survival and animal adaptation. To be realistic about it, we can't just assume that these things are wandering the forest, expending all kinds of energy hunting other animals that aren't here in the winter either, because they've all moved south or spread out and they're in herds. So yeah, you know, when I put all these pieces together, I just find it a very slim chance that these things are wintering here in northern Ontario. Rabbit tracks, squirrel tracks. So a grouse just flew over my head and landed in the tree up here. He thinks he's hiding up there, but I got him. I also don't think that a little stick structure or something like that is going to be of any use in the winter. You're not going to maintain any heat in like a lean-to spruce bough stick structure of any kind. That's not going to, you know, it's minus 30 degrees Celsius up here in the winter. That's not going to cut it. You would need caves or underground habitat for these guys to, and there aren't a lot of caves around here. There are a few, but we don't have big cave systems up here in Northern Ontario either, so. So I've come across the first swamp right out there, guys, and this is where we turn and head back up into the thicker stuff. Whole bunch of mountain ash here. Full berries. Nothing seems to have been eating it. The grouse like to eat these. It's nice to bring the camcorder because then we can zoom in. We got a 30 times zoom on this camcorder. We can go right across the swamp, get close-ups. If there was something that we had to take a closer look at, we could do it. So what do you guys think? What's your theory? How would Bigfoot survive minus 30 Celsius Northern Ontario winter temperatures? Knowing what we know about how other animals do it, what are your best guesses as to how these guys do it?